The mayor and school superintendent make the case for the Columbus school levy.
From the Battelle studio at WOSU at COSI, this is Columbus on the Record. Joining Mike Thompson this week, Columbus Mayor Michael Coleman and Interim School Superintendent Dan Good.
This week, for this special edition of Columbus on the Record, we leave the leaders at the State House alone and look at issues surrounding educating the future leaders of Columbus and Ohio. We'll look at how to educate the 50,000 kids in the City of Columbus School District. You know the story by now. A data rigging scandal has hovered over the district for more than a year. Longtime Superintendent Gene Harris left. The mayor appointed an education commission to suggest reforms. Then the school year began, and the state report cards came out, and they were pretty bad.
The report card says we have 4 Fs, 3 Ds, and 2 Cs. Our academic performance earned us an F. That's unacceptable.
And now the mayor and school leaders want voters to increase school taxes. Not an easy sell, but the leaders promise reforms. Here's what school district voters will decide on Election Day. It's a $9 million levy, and here's how it's broken down. $1 million to pay for loans to renovate and build new schools and put wireless internet into each school. $3 million for school operations, salaries, ongoing expenses, that kind of thing. $2 million for training and to fund high-performing high schools. $1 million to expand pre-kindergarten education, nearly $1 million for technology, and $1 million for high-performing charter schools. Now that's where the money will go, but because very few of us understand, and certainly it's very hard to explain, millage, here is the bottom line and what it means for property owners and students in the Columbus City School District. The levy would raise about $75 million new dollars a year. That amounts to a 24% increase in school property taxes. That charter school portion will mean about $8.5 million will go to the privately run schools. For property owners, it would cost an additional $315 for each $100,000 in property value. Mayor Coleman, as far as we know, the investigation is still going on, but the data rigging scandal came down to management problems, oversight problems, ethical problems. How does higher taxes solve that problem?
Well, this is about reform, and that's what this whole package is about. It's a comprehensive effort to reform the district. Everything from pre-K for children to technology in the classroom, to retaining and keeping the best teachers in our system, and to get the best teachers from around the country to our city, and also replicating the best schools in our city. And so this is about reform, and there's no greater investment than the investment in our children. And that's what this is about. We all know what's necessary here. Our system has gone through some tough times. And we can continue down the road of failure, which is where we are now, or we could do things differently and change and reform the system and make sure that every kid, every young person goes to a good school as a result of this. But that's our focus.
But do you need more money to change the system as far as oversight goes, getting people who are more ethical, to put stricter accountability and controls to avoid rigging of data, to move people from the administration building into the schools? Do you need more tax money to do that?
Well, part of this package is actually to save $200 million, of which $75 million have already been saved as a result of Dr. Good's efforts and the board's efforts to date. And the goal is to save $200 million. And so what this represents is $3 million of that is just ongoing operations. The balance of it represents the costs associated with the reforms necessary to make sure that Columbus has the best education system in the nation. For those kids that are now failing, making sure that they are successful.
Superintendent Good, the data rigging scandal, the report card, all cry out for a house cleaning. You've only been on the job several months, but have you started to clean house? Get rid of the folks who are responsible for the poor performance and the alleged wrongdoing.
We did indeed address the data rigging scandal. I met with the auditor of state my first day on the job. We began to remove the barriers, the challenges for his office to access the records necessary to continue the investigation. We helped individuals that were implicated make decisions, different decisions about their careers with Columbus City Schools. It's an ongoing
That's basically asked
investigation.
them to leave, correct?
And providing them options, yes. As well, we put into place policies and strong guidelines that the auditor's office has reviewed, and we'll be rolling out some of those guidelines soon. We're upping our own internal audits on a regular basis, and we brought in one of the state's top data czars to make certain our data has integrity. So when I give you numbers, I can stand behind those numbers.
How many folks have lost their job because of the data issue?
Of the 14 originally named, there are 8 that are no longer with the district. Others continue to be under investigation.
Do you expect that 14 to grow?
I think there are two tracks. There's our own internal investigation as well as the auditor's investigation. I suspect that those findings by the auditor's shop will be turned over to the city prosecutor, indictments will be made, and the justice system will take over at that point.
Speaking of auditors, the Columbus voters will vote on whether to establish a new position, an independent auditor who would be appointed by the mayor, city council president, school board president, the current city auditor, and a judge. Mayor
Former
Coleman,
judge.
Former judge. Why do we need another auditor when the current auditor, or the former auditor of the school board, actually blew the whistle on the data rigging scandal in 2004, but was not listened to?
Well, it's about checks and balances. The current auditor works for the system and for the board that she's auditing, and I think she's done, a credible job. But in any governmental environment, all governmental environments, there's a need for a check and a balance. As mayor, I have a check and a balance, and that is an independent auditor, the name of Hugh Dorian. The governor of the state of Ohio has a check and a balance, and that's the auditor of the state of Ohio. We also have the checks and balances of the city council, and the check and the balance on the governor's side is the state legislature and the judiciary. So every system has a check and a balance. Every system but the school board. School boards do not have checks and balances. They can do what they want when they want to, and if somebody underneath them has the ability to blow the whistle, that's great, but this is not about a person, this is about a system. And so what's needed at the school board level is to have a check and a balance to ensure that all financial information is true and accurate, to ensure that all student data is true and accurate, and so that when there are problems that arise, this independent auditor who will have the ability to stand up to the community and the school board, if ever it's needed, can say, that's wrong, and then something can happen as a result of it.
Will this independent auditor be able to stand up to you, or to the president of the school board, or to the president of the city council and say, you're wrong?
All we do is appoint the person, and it takes 4 of the 5 to remove that person. And so we have 5 people from different parties, different outlooks, and this person truly
Not
is
different parties now, but maybe eventually.
yeah. But but that's the point.
Yeah.
The point is to have a diverse panel appoint this person, and it will be an extraordinary thing for this independent auditor to be removed, because it takes 4 votes to take out 4 votes out of 5 to take out that independent auditor. And so you've already heard, I'm not interested in running the district. And this isn't about running the district. This is about providing a necessary check and balance on the system that every other government in America has, that our school system does not.
Let's get to the goals and the reforms and the promises that are being made during this campaign. One of the goals is to have every Columbus school, all 116 schools, achieve an A or a B rating by 2020. That's 6 years from now. And y'all have a lot of work to do, because here's where the Columbus schools stand right now. Only 8 schools have an A or a B rating. 2 with A, 6 with B. 76 schools have a D rating. 9 schools have an F rating. That's nearly half of the schools have a D or an F rating. Superintendent Good, 6 years, is that an attainable goal to get all of those schools into the A and B category?
In my mind, we ought to be able to do it by 2015. And I've worked in districts that had similar conditions: high poverty, high ethnicity, diversity, limited English speakers of enrolled. And those buildings where we were focused and put the appropriate leadership and teachers in place in support of their innovative efforts, we were able to make significant gains in a year. So I think it is a reasonable expectation. I don't look at it as only 7 or 8 schools that are A or B. I look at it as we have 7 or 8 schools that are model schools, and we can replicate those best practices across the district.
Mayor, we've heard the promises in school levy campaigns before, 90% graduation rate by 2012 or 2000, whatever. We've heard it before. Why should we believe this promise?
Well, here's what's happened in the past. I think what's happened in the past is the community, including myself, always left this to the school board, the school system. That's their problem. Let them address the issues of education. What's happened since then, our engagement, has been a community intervention where we've all come together to make sure that the issues of the district are no longer just a few people sitting on a board, but an entire community, and that we're all engaged and we've all stacked hands. And I tell you, this is a good thing when the community is together to address the issues of education, making it the most important thing we do in this community.
But we've seen these
all
ads
of
in the
us.
past. We saw Urban Meyer's in the ads this time around. Yeah. Gordon Gee was on the ads a few years ago. They're very similar. It looks like community involvement, but yet here we are again.
Well, yeah, Urban Meyer's one of 4 ads.
Yes.
My
point is that the ads showed then, they show now community involvement, but yet we still have the D's and the F's.
Well, I can tell you that in the past there wasn't a broad community involvement. I wasn't fully engaged. The civic environment was not fully engaged, and that we left it to just those folks that were, whose job it was to run the system. Now what's happened is that the community, the civic community, the faith leadership, the business leadership, the civic environment have all come together with a comprehensive strategic plan that's never occurred, never had in this district. And we say this comprehensive plan is the way to go. 55 ways to address the problems of the district. And our goal as a community is to make sure those 55 things actually take place.
Okay, Superintendent, let's do some math. Because I did the math, and I looked at all the waking hours the school kids have during the year, and how much time they spend actually in school. It's 17% of a child's waking hours are spent in a school. How much can any school, no matter how good they are, increase student performance if 83% of their time is out of school and they're playing games, they're playing video games, they're working, they're doing whatever?
I think to the mayor's point, this community recognizes it isn't just the school that's a part of this reform package. The proven practices, the solid methodology that's proposed by the commission shows that we do need those early learning experiences that are high quality, and that is a part of this levy package. We need to make certain that reading is fundamentally developed in every student, as well as numeracy, and those are initiatives that would be supported by this particular levy. We've also been working closely with our communities to make certain we will honor the commitment that those buildings will be available so that they can come into our libraries and our laboratories after school, on weekends, and evenings, and our partnerships with institutions such as COSI and the Metropolitan Housing or Metropolitan Library System. They are, again, in sync with us in providing those services outside the 17% you mentioned.
One of the goals is to retain and attract good teachers. I looked at the salaries of Franklin County school districts, and on average, Columbus is about $10,000 to $15,000 a year behind in teacher salary than Columbus. I mean, Columbus is behind Dublin, Upper Arlington, Bexley, about 10 to 15 grand per year per teacher. We're about even with Reynoldsburg, Southwestern, and Westerville. Will this money, the levy money, be used to give raises to teachers, to attract them and to keep them good teachers?
It's certainly a possibility with the operating portion of the levy, the 3.01 mils that you mentioned before, that we want to make certain we're attracting the brightest and the best on the front end, and then training them and retaining them, because we do serve as a feeder for many of the suburban districts that surround us. And certainly if there is some incentive for them to remain here, it could come in the form of support from that levy item.
One more question on the reform and the package and the committee's work. The bottom line is, even after this levy, if it passes, he doesn't work for you, Mayor, and the school board doesn't work for you. They're still independent. And legally, politically, you have a lot of wait. But legally, the school board could say a year or two from now, thanks for the recommendations, but we're not going to do it. You might not be mayor, he might not be superintendent. What's the guarantee that these reforms will live longer than your term as mayor?
Well, let me say this. I fully intend to be mayor.
Next
I'll start there. But let me say this. What we have here is a new idea. And it's really not new, really, but this is what is different. What is different is that we have made education the most important thing in Columbus. It's the most important thing. It impacts everything we do. It impacts job creation. It impacts poverty. Poverty's going up. The way you break poverty is making sure people educate themselves out of poverty.
But the school board could still have a different theory on how to do that. Yeah. This is my question.
Well, what we'll have as well is that we'll have an engaged group of people, a public-private partnership that will be appointed by the district, appointed by the mayor, whoever that mayor is, and appointed by the private sector, who will sit on a panel that will be focused on the advocacy of education in this community. And they will also be focused on how some of these 55 areas are sustained over time. So even with the change of boards, change of mayors, change of whatever, this citizens group will continue to be engaged in education advocacy for the community.
Okay. We want to get to some of the other issues involved in this, and one of the most controversial, perhaps the most controversial policy component of this levy is sharing the levy money with charter schools, the privately run but publicly funded schools. Here's the plan. As we said, $1 million, or roughly $8.5 million, will be set aside for charter schools. The schools must be nonprofit and they must promise to be transparent. The charters have to be high performing, and the levy money will be tied to schools that promise to increase the enrollment of Columbus School District students, not the kids from the suburbs. Mayor Coleman, why share? We're already sharing state education money with charters. Why share levy money with these private schools?
Because we're dealing with public education. The truth of the matter is that charter schools are funded by the public now, and they are proliferating in our community. There's a total of 65,000 students as between publicly funded charter schools and publicly funded traditional or district schools. Now, 15,000 of the 65,000 go to publicly funded charter schools. And in any given year, 25% of the remaining 50,000 go back and forth between the district and the charter schools. So what we have is public education. And what we're faced with here and what we're trying to talk about is not the difference between publicly funded charter schools and publicly funded traditional schools. We're trying to talk about good schools versus bad schools. And just as President Obama's Secretary of Education recently said that anyone who says that charters are the answer to public education, they're wrong. Anyone that says that they're the problem of public education, they too are wrong. But so what? So what the point? What the point is? What the point he also said is that the common enemy is academic failure, and the common goal is academic success.
Superintendent Good, you've dealt with charters. You've lost money to charters as superintendent in Worcester and in Westerville, and now you're losing money to charters. Usually, public school administrators, teachers unions hate charters. Why should they vote for this levy if they're going to lose some money, or some of this money will be shared with charters?
Because we all have an obligation to provide high-quality schools for our students, regardless of whether they're attending a nonprofit-supported charter school or a district-sponsored school. And with the high-performing schools work group, there will be standards to which they must comply in order to receive any of that public funding.
What are those standards? What is a high-performing charter school? Can you tell me right now what those are?
That's actually why this group has been established.
So they haven't been set yet?
That's correct.
There's no rules yet?
But there certainly is a lot of research that talks about the kind of benchmarks that need to exist and the sorts of standards in financing and the academic performance and the operational nuances of a school. Yeah. Keep in mind, just about the same percentage of charter schools as district schools in this community are failing as those that are receiving an A or a B. So we have an obligation to make certain all schools, regardless of whether they're charter or a district-sponsored school.
This new group that we've put together is not just looking at high-performing, how you replicate high-performing charter schools. We're talking about replicating high-performing district schools with similar standards. So we're talking about both of them. This is public education. Our kids go to public education with both of them. We have to deal with this issue. There's many failed charter schools as there are failed district schools.
Let's get to the little kids. Let's talk about the early childhood component of this levy. The plan is to spend about $8.5 million a year making sure that all students are prepared for kindergarten. Superintendent Good, so what's the plan? Are you going to have basically early childhood pre-K schools for all students in the district, for lower income students? Is it going to be, what's the plan? How's this going to work?
The goal is to be certain that all families with 4-year-olds have access to affordable pre-kindergarten experiences. It doesn't necessarily mean the district will be the provider of those or the sponsor of those. What it does mean is that there will be a task force, again, that establishes the standards for high-performing pre-kindergarten experiences. And so they may be private providers or public providers. But the goal, again, is to make certain every neighborhood has access to those high-quality experiences.
So if you're an upper-income family, you might not get to go to a early childhood or pre-K school for free. But if you're lower income, you might get a subsidy. Is that how it might work?
It's a standard that what they would have to be considered in that advisory council when they set those.
The Columbus Dispatch reported, Mayor, that the $8.5 million isn't going to be enough. Maybe cover half of the cost of this. Can we afford this? Can we sustain it?
Well, if the levy passes, which I hope it does, so we can have reform education for every kid in our city, I can tell you that the City of Columbus and the private sector are going to step up. We're going to step up in untold ways we've never done before. And one of the things that we need to look at as a community is helping out with funding that gap that exists. But this is a start, and the idea is to ensure pre-K for every child by the year 2020. And so we have between now and then to do that. But certainly, the City of Columbus would be interested in being a partner in that regard. And I can tell you the private sector is interested in being a partner as well. And so this is kind of, again, a community effort, not all with tax, the public levy tax dollars, but others as well.
Let's look at the long report, the long list of reforms that came out of the Education Commission, in particular the one that goes for the early childhood education. The wording, the exact wording on that goal is the goal will be met by considering the extent of services provided to 4-year-olds with services available 5 days a week, 5.5 hours a day during the school year. Now it sounds good, but the key word there is the goal will be met by considering the extent of services. That's kind of soft. It doesn't say the goal will be met when we do provide services for these 4-year-olds. Minor difference, but important difference. Is the goal not strong enough to be held accountable?
I think the goal is to ensure that every child has access to pre-K in this city in our public education system. I mean, that's pretty simple. And if they didn't wordsmith it right, Mike, I apologize for that.
Well, there's a lot of those in there. It's like, we'll bring people together. There's all these committees and commissions and subcommittees.
I'm telling you, the goal is to try to get every kid pre-K education in the city of Columbus. And this first effort is to start that process. And there'll be more efforts in these next few years. We got to start somewhere.
Let's track one last component of this whole levy campaign is one of the reforms is called an innovation fund. Political, community, and business leaders promised to raise a separate pool of money. The mayor's alluded to it. It would raise $30 to $50 million a year. The money would come from city funds, school district funds, and the private sector. The money would be used to replicate successful school districts and attract charter schools. Superintendent Good, how do you envision this money being spent?
I think we already have good examples of that. For example, Huntington's very generous gift that supported expansion of the I Know I Can program in our schools. Another gift that supported the expansion of City Year program in our schools. This would also be available then to those charter schools as well. And I think there will be more initiatives announced here in the next several weeks that demonstrate there is a corporate commitment to ensuring those funds are available to replicate those best practices.
Mayor Coleman, one of the things that we keep hearing over and over again is we want high-performing, transparent, and accountable schools.
Yes.
Will this fund, in the administration of this fund, be accountable and transparent? Will we be able to see who's giving
Yes.
and where it's being spent?
Absolutely.
All the books will be open?
Absolutely.
It's not like the
100%.
complaints about Jobs Ohio and
No,
things like that.
This is not that thing. We are totally transparent. I believe in transparency. I believe in accountability, and this will be that. Absolutely.
The voters, if they've approved this levy, they have a signed contract with the district. They're going to pay higher property taxes. Do the folks who have volunteered to give to this, do they have a similar signed contract, a commitment for 5 years that, okay, we're going to give $5 million a year to this thing, the private sector donors?
I think what's happening is that waiting to see if the levy passes, and certainly if the levy passes, the conversations I've had is that the private sector will match the city's contribution.
I got 30 seconds left, and the main question I keep hearing over and over again, it goes back to the reform. The question is, why don't we reform first, ask for no more taxes later?
Because this is the reform. This package is the reform. And in order to execute the reform, this effort needs to be adopted by the public. If it's not, then the reforms will not take place.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. My thanks to Superintendent Good, Mayor Coleman, for discussing this. Much more to know about this. Take a look at the websites pro and con to learn more about this school levy. That is the Columbus on the Record for this week. Check us out online. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and at our website, wosu.org/COTR. For the Mayor and Superintendent, I'm Mike Thompson. Have a good week.